Our third special guest is Bruce Kent, who is the Honorary Vice President of C&D and who's worked with the church and with C&D over so many years. Just adds up to a lifetime's commitment to peacemaking, and we're very pleased you're with us, Bruce.
Well, it's very nice to be here today, and I'm very glad you're welcoming a foreigner from another country. Decent of you, because these are our submarines, not yours, actually. Let's get that quite straight. I have been here many times before. I was trying to count on my fingers. I think it comes up to about 15 times over 37 years, but I don't beat Margaret Harrison in the wheelchair. So let's give her a clap, because I'm sure she is a veteran of our Royal Veterans. I'm quite concerned. I was on that big demonstration in London about cuts, and there were plenty of things about cuts and cuts about Trident. And of course, money spent on Trident is a moral issue. It's a waste of money, and it takes money away from other vital national concerns. Absolutely. But there's a moral issue that doesn't get talked about very often, and actually the barbarism of anybody proposing to use nuclear weapons. It's not just an economic issue, it's actually to pretend that they give us a system of defense. Now, I read in The Guardian just before Christmas a piece which I thought would have actually shocked a lot of people in the country. There would have been a feedback. There wasn't any. It was a description from the Ministry of Defence files of an argument between David Owen and Michael Quinlan. Michael Quinlan, a senior civil servant in the MOD, and David Owen, then the Foreign Secretary. And what were they arguing about? They were arguing about how many Soviet citizens you had to be able to kill to make nuclear deterrence work. That was the argument. Can you imagine? Human beings sitting down discussing how many you'd have to kill. David Owen was quite moderate. He said you'd only have to kill 1 million to make the Soviets pull back. 1 million. But Michael Quinlan, who actually won the day, he said no, you've got to be able to kill 10 million. You can have a country where senior people, respected all around the world, can actually discuss how many murders, how many deaths you can create elsewhere. Utterly barbaric. And it goes worse, because when the Quinlan faction won, they wanted to get Chevelin, which gave them what they call the Moscow target. They wanted to have Chevelin. They didn't even tell the Chancellor of the Exchequer that what was going on. They got the money privately, secretly, somehow in Whitehall, and only later on did Dennis Healey discover. And on that broadcast, Dennis Healey said, he was asked, what do you call that kind of behaviour by civil servants? And he said, treason. I think we have to remember that a lot of murky things go on the way to the nuclear weapons we have. I believe it's fundamentally a moral issue. And I'd like to hold up to you someone who wasn't a Christian. I think he's probably, if you could say, a non-practicing Jew, I don't know, Polish origin. Joseph Rotblat was a senior physicist, came to this country as a young man in 1939, I think, to work at Liverpool University on some physics development. His wife was due to come with him, but she was stopped at the border. She arrived, she came too late, and she ended up in a gas chamber. He was sent off to Los Alamos to work on the bomb. He didn't realize what he was doing. He was working on the bomb because they thought the Germans might have a bomb sometime. But later on during the war, 1943-4, it became quite clear the Germans had no bomb and no opportunity of getting a bomb, no question. So he said to his boss, what am I doing building these weapons of mass destruction? What am I doing building them when we haven't got an enemy? Oh no, said General Groves, in charge of the plant, we're going to use the bomb. We're going to use them on Japanese cities when the time is right. Undefended Japanese cities, with which Rotblat said, I will not take no part in what is an absolutely immoral operation. I will not do it. And he gave up his job, quite a well-paid job in Los Alamos. He was immediately sacked. They confiscated all his papers. They sent him home to England. They said, you're a communist or something. He never had another government job. He was out. But the world realized what Rotblat was, because he got the Nobel Peace Prize in 1995 because he started a wonderful Scientists for Peace group called Pugwash. Now that's the other side of it, the barbarism. I want the day to come when people in there who are all volunteers on these submarines, people in there on those submarines will say to themselves, what I am involved in is an act of barbarism. I'm prepared to commit mass murder, because that's what they are prepared to commit if they're willing to press that button. And I can't say it's never going to happen. Accidents happen all the time. Look what's just happened in Japan. We never know what the results might be. And I want people in there to say, this is not the job for me. I'm not going to carry on in this work. I'll do something more peaceful. That's on one side of this. On the other side, I say to you that it doesn't say, blessed are the peace prayers, blessed are the peace mumblers, blessed are the peace shouters. It says, blessed are the peace makers. And I think we have a unique opportunity now in the world when war is looking so savage and so stupid and ending up in such disasters, Iraq, Afghanistan, and now the nonsense going on in Libya. But people are now turning away from militarism as the answer and thinking elsewhere, and the tide is with us. We've got the Pope on our side, that's not bad. We've got Ban Ki-moon on our side, that's not bad. And we've got Mikhail Gorbachev, that's a pretty good team of three to field to begin with. And we've got 75% of the world's population. And we've got a draft treaty prepared in great detail about the abolition of nuclear weapons, covering all the issues of inspection, verification, criminal, it's all there. But would you believe it, what our country does? NPT last year, our country actually opposed starting negotiations on abolition. The field is wide open for us actually to take this forward as peacemakers. The only peace that I believe we have, because none of us are going to last forever, I'm beginning to realise that myself now. And looking around, I think some others are as well, actually. But we're not going to last forever. The only security you have is that we live our lives in the pattern that God has given for us, in the image of his Son, Jesus Christ, and we do what we can. And at the end of the day, we present our talents and say, this is the best I could do as part of a team enterprise to make the world a better place. And I congratulate you what you're doing today, and all the musicians and those who won't remember a thing about today, and those who will forget what happened tomorrow by the time, as I do. Where am I, by the way? Where am I? Anyway, it's been wonderful being here in Calcutta, and I really thank you very much. God bless you all.